All right, ladies and gentlemen, Christopher Cumby. Chris is going to come on here in just a few minutes. He's going to bring the heat. He's going to teach you how to amp up your sales game, how to be kick-ass at what you do, and just, oh my gosh, bring the heat, gamifying, doing all kinds of amazing things. We're going to dive into that. Before that, let's talk about the sponsored message. If you are an entrepreneur or influencer, you're feeling like you're spinning your wheels, you're on the hamster wheel of life, you just don't feel connected to your purpose, your presence, your platform, living your greatest possible self. That's what the 21-day challenge is for, to help you get reconnected to that, dial in your performance for 21 days straight, have one-on-one accountability with me so that you can grow into your greatest possible self. If you want to find out about that quick transformation, how to turn yourself on, ignite, and succeed like never before, send me a message, chris@brgps.com, or find me on Facebook and message me there. Looking forward to it. Next is the iTunes review of the week, and this week it's by Lauren Mushu. Lauren says, great work. I'm so impressed. I've yet to listen to all the episodes, but this podcast is gold. Practical, relatable, inspiring, and uplifting. Chris is super committed to his craft. His energy is off the charts wonderful, and he's truly magnetic. Highly recommend. Thank you so much, Lauren. And if you're out there, you're listening, you're loving becoming your greatest possible self, you just found it, you want to grow even more with us, you want to share what's working, what you love, what you feel could be improved, how we can grow the show to make it even more suited for you, make sure you go to beergps.com/iTunes or search Becoming Your Greatest Possible Self on the iTunes store and give us a review there. Let us know your feedback, how we can keep growing with you and make this an even better platform for you. Cool. Very cool. Again, Christopher Cumby is going to be coming on here very soon, so make sure you stay tuned. Get ready for the gold, because he's going to be sharing some massive, massive wisdom. Grab a piece of paper, grab a pen, be ready to take notes. It's going to change the game. Stay tuned. We're going to introduce him right now. He'll be on momentarily. So Christopher Cumby, serial entrepreneur, sales expert, and coach. He is the kick-ass sales guy. He works with organizations and entrepreneurs wanting to rise to the top of their game in their corporate and personal development. Christopher has mastered the gamification of money making in sales, and revenue is the result. Gamification in selling brings out the competitive spirit of salespeople to help them level up their skill set and show up with a positive mindset. Christopher assists entrepreneurs to launch their sales strategically using step-by-step tactics, and he was featured on the Brian Tracy TV show on NBC, ABC, CBS, and Fox networks. And he's highlighted on numerous podcast shows on iTunes and other platforms. He's the author of the Success Playbook and creator of the kick-ass sales game, Gamification, that is designed for the sales go-getters to advance to the top, the very tip-top of their game. And Christopher, are you ready to rock this, brother?
Let's rock and roll.
We're rocking and rolling, man. You're now live on Becoming Your Greatest Possible Self. Thank you so much for being here and just being the powerhouse that you are, man. Another fellow Chris. This is going to get spicy, man.
This is the Chris and Chris show. I love it. How's it going?
It's amazing, man. It's been a blast of a day, and we're going to dive into the what a great question. What a great theme for today. What turns you on? So, Chris, what turns you on, and how has this question showed up and impacted your life, man?
Well, is it R-rated or should we?
It's R-rated, man.
There we go. What turns me on is watching other people succeed and finding that, genius zone inside of them. Being a coach, that is one of the greatest things that I can see and experience, is just that epiphany, that aha moment, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. But it's that, when someone just realizes that, hey, I'm good enough.
Yeah.
I'm good enough. And I think a lot of people get stuck, and I think they get in their own way. Mm-hmm. I got in my own way. And when I got out of my own way, things started to happen. People, places, events, circumstances, things just started to show up. And, you and I connected New Media Summit, and we had a great conversation. I think we already did a podcast show already, just in our conversation we had before. Yeah. Because you got to surround yourself with people that generate that energy inside of you, that want you to show up and encourage you to show up. And I think that is something that if you're not doing out there, do it, because it'll really change the game.
Yeah, I love it. I love it, Chris. So this is awesome, man. And for people who are just getting connected with you, why don't you share a little bit more about what you stand for and what your clients come to you for?
For sure. I appreciate that. And, you did pretty good justice to what I've done.
Yeah.
But, I'm human just like everybody else. And I think we're emotional beings just in general. And tapping into your, let's say, hero inside, we'll talk about that in a little bit. I truly believe that being honest is one of the best things that you could just, show up and do. And, it sounds so, cliche, the golden rule, but there's a lot of people that are just not honest and mostly just honest with themselves. I'm not talking about people walking around lying, but I'm talking about, looking in the mirror and really being honest with yourself. And once you do that, there's some magic that happens. It's like this little thing. I play this game in the mirror. When I'm looking at myself, I always imagine who's looking at me. Who is looking at me? Is there something deeper? And I think when we connect ourselves with that, there's some incredible things that'll transpire. Being energetic and getting yourself in the best shape you can, not only physically, because sometimes it's really hard for some people to do that, but I think mentally we all can do that. Yeah. Especially if we have some support around us, and then just being real. Showing up and being real for you and your family and everybody around you and your just your friendships and everything else. And again, just being optimal at everything you do. So, I work on, and why people come to me, I think it really comes down to just being trustworthy and likable. I've been selling for a lot of years, and, way back when I was doing really well in sales and commissions at that, I had to eat what I killed. And, people ask me how I was able to go out there every day and get a lot of no's. And I think that, quite frankly, you have to show up with a good attitude for one. Yep. You have to take responsibility for everything in your life, and be aware of your emotional guidance system. I think that is something that we overlook a lot. And I think based on all that, kind of in a nice little package, if you want, just being generally likable, you're going to do real well in life. And there's lots of ways that obviously you can show up and do that. So.
Yeah. And I find that energy and enthusiasm are one of the best ways to be magnetic, to be likable. It's not, people don't have to be like full of energy. I'm full of energy. Sure. I'm here on the 12-hour marathon. That's my style, right? And that builds rapport really quickly with people, because they're like, wow, you're just excited on life. Like, what is it? And they're interested, they're curious. And I think that being curious about other people, having the enthusiasm of, hey, who is this person? What's important to them, learning and just being open to what life has to teach us, what other people have to teach us, and how we can grow with each other is one of my favorite ways to build that rapport, to build that likeness with people.
For sure. And truth be known, I'm introverted.
Yeah.
I'm very much introverted. I pay attention. I don't speak as much as I listen. It served me very well. Yeah. But I think, if you are that way, just show up with a smile. Yeah. A smile can go a long way, nonverbal, and just smiling at people, you get a smile back most times. But, just generally, that smile can generate some nonverbal communication between two people, and sort of relax everything and break the ice that way. If you're not that energetic, go get them. And I'm not like that all the time. Right now on this show, you told me to show up.
Yep.
So I'm going to show up.
Performance time.
I'm going to be my extrovert, right? I'm going to show up today. So I think you can do it in many ways to be likable, and just generally, hey, do good things for good people, and it'll come back to you in many, many ways. With energy, right?
Yeah,
that's what we are.
So, Chris, I'm curious, how did your journey evolve? What was some of the wisdom that you gained that had you want to gamify sales and go this route of having us discover our inner hero and celebrate that and own that? Tell us a little bit more about your journey.
Yeah, well, I did really well when I was building my first company. Truth be known, I closed $1 million commissions. And doing that, I just went to work, and people ask me all the time, well, how did you do that? And I really didn't know. I truthfully didn't know. It's like, I heard something way back with Ben Hogan when they asked him before cameras and all that, because if you know golf, Ben Hogan was a very good golfer. And he used to drive the ball very, very far, back in those days and when he was playing at his top of his game. And people would ask him the same question. How do you do that? How do you do that? And he just didn't really have an answer until the camera came out, the camera way back then, and they can slow down the film, and he can actually then see what he was doing in his backswing.
Wow.
That changed everything for him. So for me, I had to look at my backswing. I had to say, hey, what was going on in my world then? Who was I? What person was that person at the time? Because I think, again, we go through change through life, and tap in. I had to put myself back in those moments. And those moments were where I was able to identify what I was doing. And I came up with an acronym. Really, I was, faced with a situation back then that, I was a commission sales guy. Right. I had to go perform. And quite frankly, I was hungry. I was hungry back then. Yeah. And one of the things that I discovered was understanding what direction I wanted. I have 5 questions, maybe 6. First of all, I really think you need to know who you are. Yeah. You have to ask that question. Who am I? Who am I? And then it goes into, what do I want? What do I want? Because if you know who you are, it'll get you a little closer to what you want. I promise you. And these questions are powerful, but they're not easy. They're simple, but they're not easy. Yeah. When you ask these questions, this is where, I believe this is where the magic happens. And once you know what you want, you have to ask this question. Why do I want it? Why do I want it? And I'll tell you, we talked about it just a second ago, an emotional being we are. Can't connect that emotion, that feeling. So the next question, really simple. What feeling am I going to get when I have it?
Wow.
Right? Because if we could attach that feeling, then it starts to open up what I call, we're transmitters and receivers of energy. And if we can put a feeling out into the universe, I guarantee, based on the laws and everything else, and maybe some foo-foo, right? Maybe some foo-foo for some people sitting there looking at me right now and going, yeah, whatever, guy. But I truly believe it's the energy you put out.
100%. And
like anything, it comes back. And if you look at nature, nature will teach you all of this scientifically. And there's more and more information around this part. But once you have that feeling, and you why do you want that feeling? Because we're at that question. What feeling do you want? Sorry. And why do you want that feeling is the next question. Why do I want this feeling?
So what is it? It's the number 1, who are you? Number 2, what do you want? Number 3, why do you want that thing? Number 4, what's the feeling I'm going to get when I get that thing? And then why do I want that feeling?
Yeah. I want that feeling.
Yeah.
And here's the big kicker, and this is the hardest question. Feel missing now. Right? So I've been doing a personal mastery course for probably just over 4 years now, because I was in a transitional point in my life. I really wanted to, go inward and figure out, again, that question, who am I? And I'll come back to the story about, gamification in a second, but I really wanted to put these questions out there because it's very important that these questions, if you can answer these questions, I guarantee you, I really seriously guarantee you, I'll put a personal guarantee on it, because I can't do anything else, but a personal guarantee that you will get closer to the truth. And that's what you're really searching for. You're trying to find a feeling of really ultimately being happy. Because that's all we all share, that common ground. That's the one common ground that all human beings share, is being happy. And whatever happy is for you, Chris, or everybody out there right now, just kind of thinking, what makes me happy? It's happy for you. What's good for you is good for you.
Yeah, and Chris, just to recap, the 4th question was, why do I want that feeling? And 5, is it, why is the feeling missing now? Is that what the languaging was?
Yeah, so I'll go through them again just to recap for everybody. Sure. Who am I? What do I want? Why do I want it? What feeling am I going to get when I get it? Why do I want that feeling? And the last question is, why is that feeling missing now? And those questions are so powerful. And we're going to bring the boom today, right?
Yes.
We talked
yes,
about
we are, man.
So that's a good place to start for a lot of people.
Dude, that's essential. It's essential, man. It's like, it's totally going from like the core fundamental identity level, and then like understanding the drivers, understanding why. When we know who we are and why we are, like, it's like the first level is, okay, I'm honest. Okay, well, why? Why am I honest? Why is that a core important part of me? Because for someone who wants to develop a characteristic or a quality, an identity, to be hungry, to be a hard worker, to be a top achiever, there has to be a driver to be that person. If the driver is missing, then you can say it all day long, but saying it's not going to make a difference. You got to know how to like give yourself the momentum, the energy to go take those actions and be that person.
Absolutely. And, so that all lines up to what you asked me, how did I gamify? Why did I gamify sales? And, I used to play a game, and, why do we play games, Chris?
Like, to have fun.
Have fun for one, we say that to the kids, but really, what do we really want to do? We want to win. Right? We want to win and we want to have fun. So why don't we do that in life?
Yeah.
Why don't we do that in life? So have a game that you can play. And I designed the game so that, hey, listen, I can call it whatever I want. I call it the Kick-Ass Sales Game because I teach sales and I coach sales. Right. But I'm going to give you a framework right now. And here comes some more boom. Here comes some more value.
Let's go, baby.
But I want you to look at those 6 questions that I posed. And then I want you to put it into the direction you want to take your life. Okay. And we're going to reverse engineer. Beautiful. And I always like looking at life 3 to 5 years, but then that's blurry for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Like, hey, where are you going to be in 3 to 5 years? Shit. If people asked me like 3 to 5 years ago, I probably wouldn't have said I've been at the beach, doing what I'm doing right now, but I am, and I'm here now. So I always like looking at 3 to 5 years with an idea of where I want to go. And mainly it's going to be your whys, right? The feelings I want. Believe me, I'm living the feelings that I wanted back then. It was just a little blurry on how I was going to get there.
Yeah.
But then you go down to the 1 year, which is more the why. What am I working on? Well, we all know what we're working on this year, right? We're doing something at least. Well, I hope so. And if you don't, that's okay. That's okay. Hopefully you get some ideas today from what I'm talking about and what Chris is, regurgitating some of the things and giving his own perspective so that it helps you cut through some of the noise. But look at the direction 1 year, this year, and then let's break it down into a game. Let's break it down into a game. 90 days. But then I'm going to show you how to take that 90 days and win every single day because, it's funny, and I'll explain the whole game and I'll come to a close. I promise. This is how I talk. I go around and then I'm going to close it all in.
Build the perimeter, build the fence, then fill it.
Exactly. Tell some stories in between, get everybody going, where the hell is he going with this? And then I'll wrap it up. But that keeps everybody on their toes, right? Listening in. What's he going to say? Where's he going to go? But direction is so important in life. So what you want to do is understand where that is and play the game daily. Someone said that I coached the other day, hey, I forgot to put all the points in, from the other day and the day before and everything. And I'm like, can I put them all in now? I go, well, that game is done. How are you going to put those points in now? That's all done.
Yeah.
Like, why are you going backwards? Like, life is lived forward, right? Yeah. Often, not understood until you look backwards. Yeah. But if you look at today, right now, today, what can you do to move the needle? What can you do to get out of your comfort zone? What can you do to make one action item or look at what you're doing right now and seeing what you don't want? Because that's a good question to find out. What don't I want in my life right now? Yep. And we all have stuff in our lives that we don't want. We're all human. Like, I'm just as human as everybody else, and I have to go through these. And I play the game daily. So once you have a direction of what you want to do, and let's just take this year, we break it into 90 days. The 90 days is the hows, the projects we're going to take on, the things we're going to do. And I have 2 major projects right now I'm working on. The Kick-Ass Sales Game to really amplify people and the go-getters out there that really want to make some change and difference and close more business, have skill set. But really, it's 80% mindset, right? Yeah. You got to get up in the morning and you got to win the day, by first winning the attitude,
prime
right?
Yourself, yep.
Prime yourself up. So the direction, work backwards, win the day today. And the next thing is, who do I have to connect with? especially if you're building a business. And I'm going to relate it a lot to sales today, but you can take this same information and reverse engineer anything. Who do I need to connect with? I mean, you can even do this if you're trying to, date girls or guys out there for the women. And who do I need to connect with? I'm going to get what I really want.
Yeah.
Right. So connections are so important. Communication, learning to be a good communicator. Yeah. One day way back, I wasn't very good at communicating. And, truth be known, I was divorced a couple of times, really young. Wow. Like literally, like within probably by the time I was 27, I was divorced twice.
Wow.
I just wasn't a good communicator. But I had to learn. Now, I have a beautiful wife now, and she's got the best version of myself.
That's right.
So the greatest version of myself, right? Yeah. The greatest possible me showed up. But, when you are a good communicator and you're making connections, that lines up with the direction, right? You know what your direction is. You know who you need to communicate with. And here's the big one. Who do you need to become? You can't outperform the image of yourself. So therefore, you've got to create someone who obviously carries all the attributes of who you really are, right? Because we asked that question, who am I? What do I stand for? What are my core values? All of that. Being, just being. And I have frameworks around being. I'm a true believer that you write down your goals, you journal. This thing right here is your magic wand.
That's right.
It's a magic wand, and so many people use digital and all these apps and all that. And I'll tell you guys, I have apps for my program, and I have all those fun tools, and I love technology just as anybody else here. In fact, it's amazing that we can carry around this and be completely connected today. I dreamt about that when I was watching Star Trek way back when.
Yeah.
But this is your magic wand. And the magic wand with a piece of paper crystallizes thoughts. In fact, you have so many movements happening between your brain communication and your hand and just articulating. So journaling, goal setting are all very important with this. And then I'm a big believer in meditation. Chris, do you meditate?
Absolutely.
You do. I knew you did. Because you have to connect with yourself in ways and calm down noise and stress. It's a great way to connect with yourself, but mostly I use meditation just to let go of some stress.
Yep.
Get connected back with myself and just realize. And we had this discussion with a friend the other day that, just think of your mind for a second and think of any problem, the worst case scenario that can happen in your life right now, just right now, this moment right now. And you're creating all this stuff in your head. But really, what's changed? Nothing. We're still in this one moment.
Right. It's just like the perceived problem.
Right. Perceived problem. Yeah. We create them, right?
Yeah.
We create all these things. Yeah. And nothing's really changed in this moment. Like really, nothing's changed. That's why I love living in the day and I love winning the day, because tomorrow's a new day. I don't have to worry about it. I have an idea what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But, tomorrow I'll figure it out. I'll get up early in the morning. I'll journal. And then meditation and obviously exercise. And, I'm guilty for it. Work gets in the way. I'll push it off. But what the game does, it makes me show up and compete.
That's right.
Because, in the mirror every morning, that's the person I have to answer to. No one else.
Yeah.
And I know when I don't do it. I start feeling a little sluggish. So exercise is a big component.
And like playing the game, you get to see the score. You get to see the scoreboard. Like numbers don't lie. If you create the game, you create the rules. Like it is what it is. You made the rules. You said I'm going to play by these rules. You can't get mad at yourself.
Absolutely, that's how it goes. And one day, I'll probably do a live myself and bring people through what you just talked about. Numbers don't lie. When you get the points on the board, and listen, this thing, you can't cheat yourself. The game is designed. You could try, but the results will tell you the difference.
Yeah.
People will say, "Oh, I did that." Okay, great. And then a week or two will go on, and because I'm a coach, I keep people accountable. Yeah. I'll see the results and I'll say, "Hey, wait a second, it's not adding up. You said you were doing this. You said you were doing that," especially around being, exercising, And again, the other part is fuel. Like, what do you put in your body? How are you taking care of yourself? And listen, I like cheating like everybody else. Give me a pepperoni pizza, no problem. Right? But it's all in moderation. So I have to keep myself in check, and the game does that. And here's the big one, A. So I've got A, B, C, D. If you didn't realize, I'm going backwards. D, connecting. B, or sorry, C, B, B, A, B, C, D. I like simplicity, right? I don't need to complicate it with 15 steps and do all this stuff. And hey, listen, A, B, C, D, done. Action. What are the activities you do every day? What are the priorities you do or take care of, I should say? You know, we all have a to-do list. I believe in to-do lists. I love scratching to-do lists off. Yep. But I'm a big believer that you take on your priorities in the morning first, you get all the things done. And sometimes priorities need to carry over. That's okay. Big projects, things that are going on. But you also have to look at the activity you're doing and then do the analysis of that activity. And that is the game. Activity being connected to your direction. That's the game. It's as simple as that. I teach the game. People have to stay accountable in the game. And it's about getting the points on the board. Yeah. You know, so, you know, I know that I'm Canadian. US love their football. So I related everything around the football, right? Yeah. Touchdown, you know, safety, getting the 3-point kick, you know, stuff like that. So that's how I designed the game, because it's really easy for people to mentally prepare for that and know what they need to do. But, you know, here's another profound question for everybody out there, including yourself, Chris, is why do professional athletes have coaches and we don't have one in our lives? Right? And listen, I know people say, "Hey, I can't afford a coach." Well, first of all, you're making a statement. Instead of saying "I can't," you should say, "How can I afford a coach?" That's right. Right? Just change over the words. Yep. And I told you I'm going to bring everything today, bro. I'm just slamming it in.
This is gold. This is gold. Yeah, and everyone who's out there, if you're a salesperson, if you're a coach, if you are wanting to get the performance out of people, Christopher, you're bringing the freaking gold, man. I love it. I love it. So make sure you're taking notes if you're listening. Chris, keep going, man.
All right. Well, here we go. So, you know, again, playing the game, showing up. It's really important to be accountable to yourself. That's what's going to move the needle. And listen, dream big. You know, I'm still dreaming big. Hell yeah. And you know, sometimes shit happens. You know, it doesn't quite go the same way. But hey, listen, it doesn't change who I am and my attitude. I don't get too bummed out anymore, tell you the truth. Something happens, doesn't happen. Okay, what can I do a little different? You know, who do I need to connect with? It wasn't quite aligned. And then, you know, I was going to really launch my game 2 years ago. Yeah. Well, it didn't quite launch until this year. I had things show up. I wrote a book, you know, but it all makes sense now. And, you know, I wrote the Success Playbook. I have the kick-ass sales game. Yep. They fit. And I'm a coach. So it all comes together eventually, folks. And, you know, I think that, you know, don't be too hard on yourself, but you have to give it a go and don't give up. I think that's the greatest failure is people give up. And, you know, it's sad to watch that. They give up on their dreams. They give up on themselves. And here's one for everybody out there that has kids. And this will hit home. So this might be something that if you're sitting there, you might want to stop your car. You're listening to this, or I guess you're listening to this or maybe watching it. But you should really stop doing everything and listen to this one comment I'm going to make. And I'm true to form on this. How do I expect my kids to follow their dreams when I'm not following mine? Right? Yeah. So I said I was going to write a book, and I put that on back burner for 10 years. No. And then I looked at myself in the mirror and I said, dude, like, how am I going to look at my kids and expect them to really follow their dreams if I'm not doing what I really want? So that was the big jerker for me. And I said, screw it. I didn't know how to write a book. I'm not even very good at, I'm very much dyslexic and, you know, not very good at reading and not very good at writing for one, but hey, I figured it out, addled through and I just finished it and I did it. And it was a great accomplishment. And now I've got 2 other books in the works. Yes. Becoming the Hero Within is one book. And the other book is How to Be Kick-Ass at What You Do.
That's beautiful. So I know we don't want to talk about all those. Those are all good. We'll start with the Success Playbook though. Like what was the reason why you wrote it? What is really in that you want our audience to get and understand?
Well, it was me probably writing to myself. In fact, let me back up. I was writing it to my 18-year-old boy, and I, you know, just like any Renaissance man, I wrote it in a journal for him, like handwritten, you know, and I wrote down 4 things that I really wanted to teach him turning 18, you know, turning in, you know, and really leaving the nest, if you want, you know, kind of that adult, you know, and doing stuff and growing. And, you know, I wrote a book to him, and that was his birthday gift.
Wow.
And you can imagine an 18-year-old when there's PlayStation and Xbox and all these things that he asked for. And I gave him a written handbook and said, here's your success playbook. That's what I said to him. And it was 4 real deep points on what I truly believe are the pillars to my life now. And that's really where the book was born. And then, of course, I added some more as I thought about things. But I have really 4 pillars that I follow. And I was really writing to myself because my son looks a lot like me, you know, especially at 18 years old. And I was really writing about the things that I learned. And one of the areas that I thought was most prolific in life was, and I teach this now today as well, is be careful who you listen to. You know, you gotta follow facts. You know, there's tons of opinion out there. You can just ask anybody. I mean, you know, a lot of people, and the nice thing about our family is they really want to protect us, but they're not always the greatest people to talk to about what you really want to go and do, because they want you to stay where you're at. Safe. So be careful who you listen to is number one, you know, one of the most important pillars in my book. And then, you know, I think the next big one is always be a student, you know, just always learn, always put yourself in a position of uncomfortable, getting yourself, you know, when I don't know something now, it's like, oh man, I got to learn this. Like, why don't I know this? Why? Like, I push myself to learn, and it's so uncomfortable. It's just like, oh man, especially when learning technology or something new that comes out and you're like, why can't I get this? So I truly believe being a consummate student and learning is so important. The other pillar is accept change. It's going to happen. You know, when I had my little boys, my wife all of a sudden was staying home. And I was always home alone because I was an entrepreneur. I worked, you know, on stuff. And then all of a sudden there's like, my wife's home. Now a new baby's home. And now like there's 2 babies home. And I'm like, what is going on with my world? And I felt really weird and stuff. But I realized that, hey, life is going to change, and I've got to accept those changes. I've got to adapt myself into those changes in a way that I'm going to feel good. And I figured it out, right? And I figured it out. So that's another pillar of my book. And the last pillar, and we talked about this earlier, is understand why you do anything. Like, why am I doing this? Like, you know, I understood why I wanted to do this with you today. And I ask the question why all the time. You know, why am I doing this? So I think that that's a really important pillar. And if you put those together, and of course, I put a whack of other things in there that I truly believe will help people on that journey to create their own success playbook. So that's what the book's about: learning how to create your own success playbook through what I learned as 4 very important pillars, and then I expand on areas that they can discover, and then show them how to create their own journal or create their own success playbook if you want.
That's awesome. And I hear the principle of simplicity being in action there. You didn't need 10, 15, 30 steps, 30 life lessons that you got to follow 24/7. It's like, come on, let's
too
be
hard.
real.
I can't remember that stuff. I need like 4 steps. Give me one step, really.
Right. Just one.
But one step doesn't get you to the next step all the time. But, I think 4 is a good number, kind of keeps up a house.
Yeah.
And I'm a true believer that the deeper you can go in your foundation, the higher you can build your skyscraper. And that goes true for, looking at how they even build a skyscraper. Mm-hmm. It's you have to have a really big foundation to put one of those, monsters in the air.
Yep.
And what's the difference between our lives? You figure out your foundation and build that deep and understand who you are. Through some of those questions, and hopefully I'm not boring anybody.
Dude, this is rocking. I love it. And I wanted to shift gears into the kick-ass mentality. Sure. Where did that come from, man? How did that purpose and that message come through you?
This was about 15 years ago. I was working with a sales organization, fairly new in the organization, from what I was doing. I was around the corporate world. I started at Pepsi Cola. I got my, cut my teeth, if you want, on marketing, branding. I mean, I truly believe going into a corporation early when you're young is a good thing.
Yep.
I learned so much about structure, politics, things that go on in corporations, but I was able to take the good stuff out, the things I learned. Pepsi, I'm a brand master, right? I mean, come on. That little circle with the blue and red and a little bit of white, and you see that and you're like, oh, I'm thirsty all of a sudden. It's sugar. So I sold sugar water way back. But I got to the energy industry. I was actually headhunted from the fast track I was in with Pepsi Cola. And this was my very first exposure to, let's call it an entrepreneur mentor. Okay. Because I had mentors. I had people inside Pepsi that were amazing to learn from, taught me so many things. But I finally met someone who, when I met him for the first time, first of all, I was 29 when I left Pepsi. Okay. I started at 22, or just over 22, maybe 23. But point being is, I went into an environment, all of a sudden it was completely different. And I put myself in an uncomfortable position, but I knew that I had the foundation. I was confident enough that I can figure stuff out. I'm a pretty good problem solver. Right. I had many problems. Like I said, I was divorced twice by the time I was 26. I figured out problems. But I took all that information, and I believe that transferable skill, I think everybody has inventory that they can look at, say, hey, what am I really good at? And do that. First of all, do that part. Everybody else can fill in the gaps for you. But I took my foundation stuff. I met my very first mentor, and when I was 29, he was 34, so he wasn't much older. But he threw over a magazine, and he said, "Hey, what do you think of this?" And it was a Bombardier jet, like one of those, executive jets. Yeah. And I'm looking at it, and I'm like, "Wow." He goes, "Yeah, I'm getting that," and I'm like, "Who the hell is this guy?" So all of a sudden, I was, pushed into this environment that was just not like, I read about this stuff. I didn't really experience it. And he taught me so much about money and how you attract it. And I really got interested in books, and I started really listening well, following instruction, sometimes not, but those not times are when you can learn as well. Right. Yeah. And finally came back. And by the time I was 33, I'd closed $5.5 million in commissions. Wow. By listening and mimicking and learning and putting myself out there in an environment that, first of all, was conducive to do that. And you asked me how I got, what made that kick ass? Well, I won multiple awards and all kinds of things in the industry that I was doing. And, when you're a front runner and making that kind of money, you tend to be a leader in that area. So they'd give me rewards and all kinds of stuff. And we were at a big award ceremony, and it was in, I believe it was in Spain. We were in Mallorca, Spain. Exactly. It all comes back. And someone yelled out when they said my name for what they called the Kilowatt King. I crushed it. Like I just crushed everybody in it. And I don't say that because I'm bragging. It was that moment in time that I felt like, I won the Stanley Cup. Yeah. And I put it over my head. Yep. It's that one moment in time when we all dream of that. We just get that. And someone yelled out, "The kick-ass sales guy." And I'm like, kick-ass sales guy. So literally it was 15 years ago. And I mean, pre-internet, like the way internet is today. Yeah. But I wrote that down. And when I was able to really figure out stuff, I bought the domain, the kick-ass sale or kickassalesguy.com. Yeah. So I own that still today. That's awesome. And I did nothing with it for years and years and years. And then, like I said, when I figured out the gamification to sales, and I showed you some frameworks, and there's a lot more to it, but just the basics of what to explain it. I took all of that, and I realized, man, people all love to be kick-ass. Yeah. Right? Yeah. When you hear the word kick-ass, like someone's showing up, right? Either you're going to get your ass kicked or you got to go kick some ass. So I prefer to kick ass rather than get my ass kicked. So, that's really, kick ass to me is something that I think everybody has within themselves to show up in the morning, get up with a good attitude. If you don't have one, go figure out how you're going to get a good one. Because that is the number one thing that I think holds people back is your bloody attitude. Just come on. We all have problems. I can talk about problems all day long. It's not going to solve them. So I think the attitude changes everything, and being kick-ass at that is really what I believe can change that mental frequency and help you show up and compete with yourself, really, because that's all you need to do.
Yeah, 100%, Chris. This is awesome. And I love how you share stories of how you get these titles and these ideas and discover this purpose to live, right? To help people with sales, writing the playbook for your son. Like it's beautiful, man. So I want to hear the story behind the hero within. What was the journey to discover that? I have a feeling there's like legacy behind that. I hear that there's some epicness in that.
This is the big project, brother. This is the one that hits home so much, and actually makes me emotional thinking about it. And hero for me is obviously, I think that everybody would love to be one, and I truly believe that everybody is a hero. Yes. We've got to figure out what that means and do something with purpose. And I didn't want to really just go through life without challenging myself. And, although I had many adversities and challenges and all of that stuff, I think it was preparing me. Yeah. Preparing me for something. I didn't know what. And I was like mad and I was angry and I was really hurt. I got hurt by a lot of people. I show up with authenticity, and I always show up with telling the truth. And my first company was called Integrity Energy. I truly believe it, as many people have heard, integrity is doing the right things when no one's watching. Yep. Because I know who watches. I had these moments in time when I was 16 years old. I almost drowned. And I remember that moment of like, is this like happening? Is this like, is this it? And it was scary, I'll tell you. But there was something just that pulled me forward and got me out of it. And not all people have that opportunity. And I didn't want to waste that. I didn't want to waste that. So, fast forward to, all the things that have happened to me. And a lot of times I look at, those things and I can see now why I was getting prepared. It was for the moment to turn these things around and be a hero to my kids. Wow. And my kids drive every part of me. Now, listen, I love my wife, but unconditional love is my children. Unconditional. And I never understood that, but I've been a dad for 25 years now. So when I was 22, I got that call and said, I think I'm pregnant. And I'm like, with whose baby? And I was like devastated, but in a way that it was almost like, wow, like I think it prepared me. Yeah. And I grew up with my son, and he's one of the closest people to me, along with my 3 other kids. So I have 4 kids. I have 2 with my current wife, and love her to pieces. She's amazing, and she's just brings out the best, and I just adore her. And my 2 boys with her are my little angels and things that just keep me young. Yeah. I did a Facebook thing the other day, Chris, that when you see those and it says, hey, what would you look like 30 years from now and whatever. Yep. And man, I look badass when I did that thing, man. I was like, wow, like my kids are keeping me young. So I think my kids keep me young and keep me focused, and I think they deserve to have a hero. Yeah. So that's my big project right now. It's called the Hero Within Project. And we want to help level up dads that are faced with situations where there's enormous pressure. And I think men in general, and we hold a lot of things in. I think we need to become vulnerable. And I think we need to tell the truth. and we got to be really honest about things. And I have, thank goodness, and this is really where it all kind of came from, is I have a support network of guys that I trust,
Yep.
that are go-getters. Yep. And we created this concept of supporting each other. And it just hit me that, there's a hero within all of us, and I see it, and I see it in all men. But what I don't see is them doing anything about it.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to create a community where they can be vulnerable, but let's put a purpose and a mission behind it, and let's show up. Let's show up for our kids. Let's show them that we can change things. Let's make a new generation of men, little boys that turn men that can, it's okay to cry. I was always told by my dad, God love him, and I love him, and he's my hero. But he also used to tell me, don't cry. And I find myself sometimes saying that to my boys. But now, man, if you come to my house sometimes, dude, it's like whining and crying and all that. But, they got to get that off them. They got to let it go through.
Yep.
And I don't think we have enough emphasis around that as men. We try to carry a lot on our shoulders. We try to fix stuff. And we try to be warriors, if you want. By the way, Garrett J. White's got the best program for men. And I went through that, with him. I got a big call out for him because he's amazing. You got to get him on your show one day.
Yeah, man. He's
full of energy and amazing guy. I can't say enough about him. I've learned so much from Garrett J. White. But I looked at, what I wanted to do and create, and I wanted to create an environment for supporting some other guys that, quite frankly, I've already been through the fire. Yeah. I've been through it. Yeah. So I want to now support them in ways, mental capacity, and help them through that because I'm just a natural coach. So the Hero Withinship's growing. We're getting some sponsorship. We have some really cool people that are going to back it, and it'll be released soon. We're just doing some final things around, what the retreat can look like, what the program. I mean, it's just, it's funny when you just start something. Yep. It's amazing what starts to come around it and who wants to be part of it. Right?
You don't need to know the whole pathway. Like what does Martin Luther King say? You don't need to see the whole staircase, just take the first step kind of thing,
Absolutely.
Take the next step. That's it, man.
Well, it's like when you started this, Chris. Let me turn around and be the question asker.
Yeah. Yeah.
The interviewer.
That's right.
When you first started this show.
Yeah. Dude, it was just a way to one-time thing to promote a webinar. We wanted to announce all day long a webinar was going on. A couple days later, my business partner and I, we look back, tons of engagement, tons of people tuning in saying this is awesome. We said, we got something here. This is different. This is unique. This is special. How can we make the most out of it? And then we said we'll do another one. Like we said, we don't know how long we're going to do it. We don't know how it's going to unfold. We don't know how it's all going to work out, but let's take the next step. And 88 marathons later, we're still here, man. Strong.
Man, you guys, kudos to that. And, you're an amazing guy. I saw that energy. We didn't really get a chance to hang out too much, but I pay attention. I was probably a little bit more introvert those few days, but I paid attention, to who, and you got a ton of energy, and I respect you so much. And the fact that you're doing this and sharing information, bringing people together, your network's amazing. And I love you, and I honor you for all of that because, listen, folks out there, this guy's the real deal. And, I've been around a lot of people, and I'll tell you, this guy fires me up, and, I try to tune as much as possible. I always like to, be able to network people, and I'm a super connector, Chris. So if there's anything I can do for you, brother, you just let me know, and I'll connect you and possibly get, lots of other people on this show for you if that's something you're looking for.
Absolutely. For sure. Chris, I so appreciate you, man. You're a freaking big player in this world, and the Hero Within, that is going to change so many men's lives, fathers' lives, as well as sons' lives. That's you're really touching my heart because I know what it feels like. Being a kid is not so far away from me, like years wise. I feel like it was just yesterday that I was this little kid who, was afraid of the world, was intimidated, just looking for something to hold on to because I was so intimidated, I was insecure. And I believe I love my dad. He's amazing. And there was certain aspects where I wasn't taught how to be a man. There's not like training and a natural progression of men teaching their sons how to become a man, how to evolve into manhood and take on that responsibility with the right mindset to handle the pressure, the stress, how do we handle that? And a lot of that isn't taught. So I know you're going to pass that wisdom on how to do it in a healthy way, how to know what you want, why you want it, how to have practices to keep yourself grounded and present. And I just really acknowledge you, Chris, because that's absolutely needed in the world, and it will reverse a lot of the epidemics that are going on today with violence, with incarceration, with parents splitting up and all kinds of stuff. When people know who they are, what they stand for, that is the world I want to live in, man, and you're bringing it.
Well, I'll try, brother. And
you're succeeding, bro. You're succeeding. Give yourself some credit.
It's again, we've got to do more work around it, but at least it's the start. And I think there's enormous power in starting. That's where most of the power is in the start. And that's what I encourage people out there. If you've got some idea, you've got something you really are passionate about and you're not doing, you got to I promise you, the people, places, events, circumstances, and things will start to show up and it'll reinforce. Because when I put this out there and I talked to a good friend of mine, Glenn Metropolit, played, hockey for, 22 years. He played in the NHL. He's retired now. And we're working on this because, again, he showed up and we talked about this thing and we said, you know what, all we got to do is just start. Just start and do something. My partner, Alan Witch, amazing guy. We just started a podcast, and amazing people showed up. And then we took it and we said, okay, what else can we do now? And the game, I was forced because someone said, how do you do that? Enough times that I said, I don't really know, but let me find out.
Yeah.
So I went back and I figured out what I was doing, who I was, how I was able to really, because I was a goal setter always, just shit. Like my dad didn't give me stuff. He gave me money, but I had to do stuff. Right. So he taught me that value of money and what work does to go out there and do that. And I truly believe that if you just go do the work, the stuff will come. And I always wanted stuff. So I used to just go to work. My very first, I'll give you one more story. I know we're going to be wrapping up soon and your show is amazing. I love this show and I love you, man. Love you,
brother. I love you.
My first job, honest to God truth. You remember the pop bottles, the glass bottles?
Yeah.
Do you remember those? Are you old enough to remember those?
I remember. All
right.
Back in the 20s.
No one wanted to bring those back. No one ever wanted to bring those back. So I had this idea, and especially my dad. My dad would always let me bring them back, and then he'd give me half the money. And I was like, half? I brought them all back. I was negotiating always. But I'm like, all right, it's a commission, no problem. So I eventually figured out that no one wanted to bring these things back. So my dad built me a wagon, a big wood wagon on, and can hold a lot of bottles. Yeah. And I used to go around my neighborhood and pick up everybody's bottles. Wow. And then bring the money back to them, and then they would give me my commission.
Wow.
That was my very first job. So I truly believe just go do something.
I love this. I love this because I made my first, hundreds of dollars doing quote unquote chores by collecting and recycling cans, and I think it's amazing because what other people considered trash, we turned into cash, we turned into profit. And isn't that amazing that that's a commonality between us? And we also value the hard work, the, putting in the time and the energy and recognizing that nothing is too low or there's no too dirty job. If you got to to get the job done, if you got to be the janitor when you first start your company, be the freaking janitor. Do what it takes, you know, as long as it takes. That's freaking awesome. I love that. That's super cool. That's awesome.
And get someone to keep you accountable. You know, Alan, my business partner, he keeps me accountable. We always joke, you know, I'm the pitcher, he's the catcher.
Yep.
And there's lots of times when, you know, I'll throw a ball and I wasn't listening to him. You have to walk out to the mound and say, hey, dude, like, what are you doing, man? Yeah. So I think having someone you can bounce, and he's an awesome dude. I love him to pieces, and we work well together, and we've created some really cool things. But just find people that you can, really surround yourself with. Yeah. Go do something. Go do something big.
That's right.
Moonshots. Peter Diamandis talks about moonshots.
Yes. Yes. All right, Chris. So our audience is loving this. They love the energy. They love the wisdom, the stories. They want to continue their journey with you, man. How do they do that? What's their next step they can take, Chris?
Well, I'm all over social media, but you can come to ChristopherCumby.com. That's where, my home is on the interwebs. Okay. But I would say just, hey, if you got something value today and you're looking to amp up, Messenger, I listen, I answer people. I talk to people. I think you have to have engagement. I'm not that guy that just hides behind social media. I say you got to get in there. I love the front lines. You need some help, connect with me, and I'm there with you.
I love it. Chris, you are the man. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you. There's big things coming for you and for me, and I know there's some opportunities together. Alan's out in the audience too, your partner. Shout out to Alan. You guys are doing amazing things. I appreciate you, Chris. Thanks for being here, man.
I appreciate you, brother, and back at you. And to your audience, thank you. I appreciate it. Namaste.
Namaste. We'll see you soon, brother.